Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh,
Why did it do that? Oh,
I don't
it's going
know.
live without a title. Okay, you know
All
what?
right, we'll title it later.
Why is it acting so funny?
It's going to be that kind of day.
Yeah, just says Zoom YouTube broadcast.
Hmm.
If people are seeing this live, hi.
Oh, nice to see everyone.
Right? Oh my gosh.
That's funny. Okay,
What's going on
something's
here?
being weird.
All right, I can't tell if we're live or not. Does it say
Mine
we're
says
live?
live. Mine says live
Live.
on the top of my
Okay.
screen. So live.
Can you guys tell I don't do this a lot? Oh my God. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blythe Starlight channel. My name is Therese Tucker, and today I have with me a very special guest. This is Stacy Hoffman-Farmer of Mount Serenity Massage. And Stacy and I have been friends for a long time, and she is an incredible healer being here on this planet, disguised as just what a massage
Massage
pretending to
therapist.
be a
Yeah.
massage therapist, but there's so much more going on there. And her clients definitely know that because your clients are very dedicated to you.
Yeah. They're a good group.
Yeah, very good group. So today I was bringing Stacy on because she's a part of the Spirit Circle. And during that Spirit Circle, um, my team transmitted some information about healing processes going on in the body. Now, I've just shared that transmission to my Modern Mystic Soul podcast. So if you want to hear exactly what they had to say, go check that episode out there. It's free anywhere they do podcasts. You'll find my Modern Mystic Soul podcast. So Stacy was there for that. She got to hear the whole transmission, be taken through it by the team. And then when I went and talked to you during the psychic Q&A part, you brought forward some really interesting information about what's happening in people's bodies. So before we go into that part, I
Mhm.
just want to preface it from what I can remember my team had said, because I'm doing a conscious channel. So I can hear them and I'm kind of computating what they're saying, but at the same time, it's coming out in a way where I don't feel like I grab all the details. So this is what I remember. I remember they were talking about uh, activating the copper in our body.
Mhm.
So, really quick, Stacy, what do you know about the copper that's in our body? Because we all have the copper mineral, right, in our bloodstreams
Oh,
naturally.
yeah. So everybody has a bunch of minerals in their body. It's a lot of
Right.
stuff that you don't even think is really there. So, things like copper, iron, magnesium, boron is getting a big hit lately. A lot of boron stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
Calcium. Yeah, boron is not something that people think they have in their bodies. So, like the substance borax, boron makes that up, and it's a little minor kind of mineral that operates in the body. So, copper, that was a really strong one during the spirit circle. Copper is obviously conductive, and it actually helps with grounding a lot. Copper is very earthy kind of grounding, and it creates, because there's an electrical charge and we're always kind of interacting with the earth helps us like decharge. So if there's an excess of electrons or something in the body, that's why going outside barefoot or like laying on the beach and you feel like you can't get up because you're stuck, it's that kind of thing. And so copper does that as well. And it plays a lot into the health of the blood, which is really important right now. We're getting a lot of stuff around blood health with all the crazy things going on in the world.
Yeah.
So, drinking out of copper vessels or wearing copper. I've got like a little copper necklace on there. It helps dissipate charges around the body as well, like EMF charges. So I kind of think that's why they were hitting on the copper, to activate it a little bit and get rid of excess. Some people do have excess copper, which can be toxic. So you have to be careful with copper. It's the right ratio is what you're looking for.
Right. I remember that
So
they had said that. They said that in the transmission that they weren't telling people to take more copper or ingest it. They were rather saying talk to the copper. And I do think they also were sort of alluding to, even though they were focusing on copper, you could talk to any mineral in your body at all. They were like, talk to the copper and ask it to help you ground, like Stacy
Hmm.
was talking about. And they were like, ask it to revitalize you. So they were talking about revitalizing or getting more vital energy through the copper in your body. And they were literally like, you can regulate the minerals in your body just by talking to them and asking them to be like the perfect amount of copper for your body. So to discharge anything or let go of anything that wasn't necessary in the body. And I know, like, for example, birth control pills for women often increase the copper in a woman's body. Isn't that true?
That is true. It does other stuff as well with hormonal stuff, but and especially women who are using the copper version of the IUD, the one
Uh-huh.
that's non-hormonal based. Um, it works very effectively, but it raises the copper in the body. So you then have to be very careful with how much copper you actually get. Because like
Right.
spinach has a lot of copper in it. There's a bunch of other stuff, but usually people can tell if they're getting a little too much because copper's not as forgiving as some of the other minerals if you end up with too much.
Doesn't it make
But
you
yeah,
kind of nauseous or something? Like,
nauseous, a little bit of headaches. You just kind of feel like foggy. There's a little fog.
mm,
I've had some copper toxicity a couple times. So
yeah.
yeah, you think you need it, but you don't really.
Right. So what I loved was, and this reminded me of you, like you were sort of popping in when there's transmission. I was like, I wonder what she's getting from that. Because they were really emphasizing how much you can talk to your body. Like we get really dependent on external sources to help us heal. And I know that
Yes.
you're a person who's very much about get in touch with yourself, like get in contact with yourself to help you heal. So can you kind
Mhm.
of break that down? Because I know for me, like if I'm thinking I need more iron, like that's one of the ones I'm like, oh, I actually do need some iron. My first thing is like, how do I get that? Like, where do I get it from? I'm thinking, supplements, which I don't want to take, or I'm like, spinach or like beef or something like that. My first thought is outside of myself.
Sure. Well, sometimes the body really does need help from the outside because, as you know, the world is difficult right now. The farming practices in the more populated countries, a little more industrial, is not the greatest. The United States and Canada, in particular, don't like to ban some of the chemicals that cause problems in the body. So the
Right.
body is constantly trying to talk to you, be like, no, don't do that. We don't listen real well.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that also. Um, but I've noticed lately too, people don't live in their body. They're inhabiting their bodies, but they're not living there because a lot of people, it's hard to be in this density. The third dimension is really challenging. We all know that. We've been around the block. But when you start inhabiting and not living, you don't listen to what your body is trying to tell you. So you're not actually getting what it's doing. And then it starts manifesting illnesses and people can break things or sprain things. The body's trying to get your attention. If you won't pay attention, it'll make sure that you do at some point.
Right.
So yeah, if you're only inhabiting, then you need to get in touch with who you really are and like feel your body and how it's interacting with the world. And when you do that, it is unmistakable when the body starts telling you that it wants something or doesn't want something. And with minerals in particular, I don't really mind supplements as long as they're really well made. There's a few companies out there that I really like. Like I take an iron supplement because I just couldn't get it through the food. It wasn't
Okay.
metabolizing correctly.
Yeah.
So I started the supplement just because I needed to get the iron in. And then you start going down the path. I'm a researcher. That's what I do. I really just want to know stuff. So as things come up, I look for answers to why I need to know it. And with iron in particular, when I went through that, God, that was 2 years ago. It was post COVID. My husband and I both got the second round of whatever COVID is. I maintain to this day it is neurological, it is not respiratory, it's messing with our nervous system. But it depleted my iron so badly with whatever it was processing through. My body was trying to defend itself.
Mhm.
I was getting like horrible anxiety, panic attacks, like in the middle of the night. I've never had panic attacks in my life. And I kept asking my team, like, what is going on? What is happening to me? And they kept saying, you got to check your vagus nerve. And I kept going, yeah, right. Vagus nerve. What does that have to do with anything? And then it was check your iron. And I wasn't really paying attention because I was looking for answers outside of me at that point. And when I really tuned in, because I was getting desperate after like the fourth row of panic attacks at like 3 o'clock in the morning, a video came up on YouTube. and it was a chiropractor talking about the signs of iron deficiency. And the first one was anxiety and panic. And I went, huh. So they've been telling me to check my
Interesting.
iron. And then they threw the video in my face. Like, you're going
I
to listen
love that.
now.
They're like, sit, listen.
Mm-hmm. So, and I got up, I still wasn't feeling real good. So, and I work with clients all day, so I have to kind of maintain. So I went to the store like right then, bought it's only like 20 milligrams, I think, iron supplement. And within about 4 hours, it was very obvious that that's what I needed because
Wow.
everything just calmed down. And that was the moment where I was like, uh-oh, I better pay attention because my body it's 3-dimensional, right? We're 3D here. And if you're living in that third dimensional body, it's very literal about what it wants and needs because this is it. This is what the body is made from. The rest of us is not here, but
Right.
this part is. So you have to pay attention to what that third dimension is trying to tell you. And Julia Cannon was one of the best, or one of the best books I've read, the Soul Speak book, because
Yes,
she
love
reiterated
souls.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, bodies
The
are
bot.
very literal.
Yeah, exactly. And Dolores got that too. Her mother, Dolores Cannon, one of my favorites. But they both got that the body is like, it's not, it's like, for example, if you're having pain in your legs, it's about moving forward. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you're resisting moving forward. You're having trouble moving forward. So the body literally is literal. Um, there was a moment when I was learning about that, when I was going through the Soul Speaks books and I was training on the Dolores Cannon's hypnosis method. And I had a negative thought in I just finished talking about like how you speak to yourself is like how you're reacting. And I had some like negative thought pop in my head. And I literally like accidentally smacked my head. I mean, one of the things that they said in that book is there are no accidents. Like accidents are a message, an
Mm-hmm.
instant message. And so it was like, knock it off. It was like my team was like, knock it off. Like, like this is not a helpful thought. So going back to what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to touch on the COVID piece for a second, because I remember when I caught whatever strain it was in 2022, and it was like a 72-hour one. We were like in and out really fast because I had done so much of the vitamin prep work, like I was making sure people's immune systems were like on point. So it moved through
Good.
us pretty quickly. But I do remember reaching out to our group. So we're in like a group chat together and saying, like, I am having thoughts that are not me. This is not my thought. Like I am unnaturally, I felt hopeless. It was so weird and
Mm-hmm.
uncharacteristic of me, because one of the things I know about myself is I have like a high level of like positivity and hope. It comes out in my like personality readings that if you take personality assessment, I'm high in that. So when those feelings were coming through, I was like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what this is. And I reached out to people and I was like, does anyone know if this is affecting you on a mental level, like if it's affecting your thoughts? And I remember you guys came back with a resounding like, yes, like, and I needed to
Yeah.
hear that so that it wouldn't affect me so much. But I agree with you. There's definitely something within that combination of whatever soup we got that they put in
Yeah.
there that's definitely affecting you on the mental nervous system level for sure.
Yeah. Well, we know the people that are responsible for creating this stuff. They
Sure.
know how to program things and make sure the messages they want get through. It's just how much you're going to take in when you deal with it. So
Yeah.
COVID's tricky because I think I don't know. Every time I look at it, it's like this ever morphing kind of thing. It's just adapting and adapting and adapting. So it's not natural. It's not a normal thing that we would ever have to deal with. And that's why
Yeah.
it's different for everybody. But the one thing that comes through consistently is this is attacking your nervous system. And you have to make sure your nerves are okay. Because the nerves obviously go into every single organ and everything in your body. So if the nerves are wrong, of course the organs are going to do something weird. So you're not
Sure.
going to breathe very well, or your heart's going to do something funny, or your digestion gets messed up. So it's whatever they did, they're messing with the nervous system.
Oh my
So,
gosh, for sure.
yeah,
Oh,
we'll see
I
what they
think
decide to do later. I don't know. They're always messing with something.
I just had a side thought. It popped in and it popped out. So now I'm gonna that's going to bug me. I'm going to let it go, and we're going to like
It'll come back around.
It'll come back around if it's important. Okay. So we were being told to, talk to the body. Another thing that they mention, they keep pointing out every time we do these transmissions, that we've moved into another dimension. This was the part that I thought was really excited. They were like, first of all, you're moving dimensionally all the time. That was something that keeps coming out, is like, you're not in a static position. Like if you were to see us on a game board, you might think that we're on a piece of the board just sitting there. And they're like, no, you're like moving around the board. So you're moving through dimensions, and we've done some major shifting recently. And one of the cool things they said was, we've moved into a dimension where we have more access to our non-physical self. So the part of us that's not physical, but more non-physical, we've always had access to it, but it's been like trying to bring an elephant through the eye of a needle. Like, you know what I mean? They were like, this elephant represents all your non-physical energy, and this little eye of the needle represents how much can come into the physical plane. And so we had always had it, but accessing it was difficult. And they said, we've moved now where that instead of being an eye of a needle, now we're working with something that's more like the size of a window, right? Still a lot more than what can come through, but so much more is coming through now. And I just want to get your take on that, because you were saying that you were noticing signs in the body. And I want you to share with everybody here what you were getting and shared at the spirit circle, because I was like, whoa, it's blowing my mind. So go ahead. I want to just hand it over to you.
Information just comes through in the craziest ways, right? So whenever we get stuff, it's like, oh, I knew that, but I needed to hear it. So I have the same stuff that happens. So when we were leading up to the spirit circle, which was that crazy full moon energy, that was just
and eclipse,
off the charts. Yeah, that eclipse full moon energy, it was crazy this time. I had been seeing, I see a lot of clients during the week. We're going anywhere between like 15 and 20 people a week. Every single person within a 2-week period, including myself and my husband, were all experiencing pain somewhere in the body. Most people were getting lower back pain. So right where that sacral bone is, going out into the hips, really nervy pain on one side or the other. So most people were getting it on the right side, like going out the hip, down the side of the leg. Mine was on the left. I've had a few other, you had the right side pain. Mid-back pain. I had a few people with really severe mid-back pain, and I've had a handful with neck and head pain. And it was all really nervy, like the sharp shooting nervy pain.
Yes, that's happening. Like right now, it's still going on. I'm still getting that. And I was fine before. Like my neck, I have a history because I had a car accident that was pretty bad. So I have a history of it, but usually it's been pretty neutral. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, no instigator. And my husband said the same thing. His neck started acting up. So that's so weird. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
But just really the out of nowhere is the key, because no one has had anything very specific happen. Even my last client today, as she was coming in, she's like, I got to tell you, I've got this back pain. Hers is going down the left side. Same thing. So, and nothing serious has happened to anyone. There's like, people traveling or, no one's had any serious injuries to have this sort of flare up. And I was starting to look into it with the team, like what the heck is going on? Because when it gets nervy with me and I have to like lean over people, it's awful. Like I just can't, my back is like, no, you're not going to do this today.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out what was going on. It seems like we're processing some collective 3-dimensional pain.
Okay.
Is what I was getting. The area that all that stuff is occurring in is like the sacral chakra, sometimes the root, because they're very close together right there. The navel, which is a smaller chakra, but it's still right there. But all of those chakras are very earth-based. They're 3-dimensional. The heart is what connects them, right? But the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root are those earthy chakras. And again, a lot of people inhabit their body, but they don't live there. And some of the stuff I was seeing was like, this is a major, like, you better pay attention to your three-dimensional self moment, because that nerve pain is real and it's painful when we deal with nervy pain. And it was a big, like, pay attention to your third dimensional body. Pay attention. It's in pain. You got to do something. And then on a collective level, so many of us have been damaged in those chakras in so many ways, in this lifetime, in other lifetimes, but in particular, the sacral chakra, which is the passion center. So passion and fulfillment in a three-dimensional life. So enjoyment of like food, enjoyment
Mhm.
of laughter, of being around people, enjoyment of sex, like all that stuff is wrapped into that chakra. And all these people are coming in with this pain. Well, we've been so damaged by what's happened in this world. This, many lifetimes we could have been harmed in those chakras. And it's not like, again, the really nasty energy in this world. It's not like they don't know that and target that kind of stuff because it makes you kind of come out of your three-dimensional self because it's painful.
Yeah.
So that's what I was getting is we're trying to process out this collective pain in multiple different lifetimes to get rid of it. And so all of us have to do it together because we've all been through it at some point. So
So that's wild. And I mean, it makes sense because one of the things that my team keeps saying is, look, you can't take this with you.
yeah.
You're going higher, and it's like these suitcases are too heavy. You can't take it higher up the mountain. And I think like they bring that metaphor through a lot because a lot of times like, and I've never climbed a mountain, so they're just showing me things that I'm assuming is how it works, but you'll set up base camps, and at each camp you leave stuff behind because the higher you go, the less you can take with you. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, I think it towards the end of it, you're kind of there just with like the basic, super basic stuff to alleviate any stress or tension on the body so that you can actually do the climb.
Yeah, that's especially when you watch stuff with Everest. That's usually how they have to do it. Because there's just, but especially at the top of the mountain, the air is thin and you don't breathe as well. So you can't carry a lot of stuff. So, and the higher we go, I'm sure you guys have felt it when the air comes through or energy starts coming through. It's almost like cold air comes into the body. And all of a sudden you're cold and it's like, wait, what just happened? But you get those moments of like cold. And then the
Yeah.
three-dimensional body will reassert itself and then you get this hot that starts coming up. I've seen that a lot too. I've experienced that as well.
That
So
happened recently with all of this, but I assumed it was like hormonal changes. So I never look at that and go, oh, that's, spirit. I'm like, oh
well,
God,
some
here
of
we
it
go.
is.
Like, here
But
we
what
go.
yeah, what a lot of people don't realize too, especially the ladies out there with our hormonal changes, like back before a lot of the chemical things that we have to deal with and the way the food is and the way the water is, when menopause would happen, there was not hot flashes. There was not this dramatic, like heavy bleeding. It was not like that. It was like a gradual cessation, and it was actually a rise in energy, feeling better in the body, more aware and alive. And you get to, get rid of the bleeding part. But it was
Yeah.
like this next level of making the body feel even better. So it was an amazing moment. And now, because of the way the hormones are so tied in with the stuff going on in the food, it's turned into like the hot flashes and the severe pain and the heavy blood. That is not normal. That's not how our bodies are designed to handle it.
No, and I
So,
don't know a lot about this topic, but I've even heard like there's mucus that builds up in the uterus
yeah,
or something that apparently doesn't need to be there. Like it
yeah,
shouldn't maybe be there.
yeah. And
Um,
it's painful in some cases and can lead to like fibroids and cysts and things like it's not good. But it's related so much to the food because there's a lot of hormonal manipulation through the chemical. They don't really know, I think, how the chemicals affect our hormones. Not really.
right. I think they know to a degree, but how prevalent it, and then of course, I mean, this is such a spiral we could go into because
Mm-hmm.
then you get into like, oh, okay, all the medications and stuff that people take that get into the water supply, that get into you. So like, even if you're not
Mm-hmm.
taking it, I mean, it's extensive. And
Yes.
when
And
my
a little
brain goes
scary.
there, yeah, it's a little scary, but when my brain goes there, my team goes, reminds me, they're like, in the best way possible, you guys are like cockroaches. Like they've tried to kill you so many times and
It's
they
true. And
just
we just
can't.
keep coming back.
They just
I was,
can't. We
yeah.
just keep morphing with it. We just keep evolving with it. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it, at what point does it become futile for that group? I think it's already futile. I think they've already lost.
Yeah, they
number
keep
one.
trying, which is just the saddest part, right? It's like, look, I tell people all the time, our bodies are truly incredible.
Oh
When you
yeah.
look back through history and all the stuff that has come at the human body, all the crazy diseases, all the injuries, the things, bodies are incredible. They heal from anything, anything. If you give it the right circumstances, I know bodies will heal from anything with no problems at all. We meddle. So things get a little crazy because we're trying to control an outcome that we want immediately. And the body's like, it's just going to take a little time. And then we meddle. So,
Yeah.
we don't give it the ideal environment to try and heal itself.
Well, and the mind gets in the way too. And that's the other part is like if our mind isn't in alignment with healing, if we're not in
Mhm.
alignment with like I trust my body heals easily. I in fact I did that the other night when my neck started tweaking up. I was like aligned. I'm purely aligned. I'm beautifully aligned. Everything is so aligned and my body is relaxing and it's healing and it's all
Mhm.
is well. And I kept just saying that to myself. I think it took me 5 to 10 minutes of just purely focusing on that because what I would typically do when I'm not conscious is I'd focus on the pain. I'd be like,
Mhm.
ow, this really hurts. It's like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. I'm so uncomfortable. And you not only do you think it, you start talking about it, you start getting other people to think about it for you. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah. And as you
so
speak into it, it brings it in. We know how energy works. It's non-selective. Whatever you put out, you're getting back all the time.
I know that's the hardest
Yeah.
part. I would say it's like you don't want to be hyper vigilant because that's not a way to live, but you want to
Hmm.
be conscientious. And that's the part where, practicing it keeps coming. You got to keep coming back to, I can do this.
Hmm.
This is how it's designed and meant to be uh, in body mind and spirit are meant to be in alignment with each other. And that actually brings me to my point is like one of the things this dark group, the negative timeline group, like I like to call them, focuses on the most is the one thing they can manipulate. And they even put this as a tiny bit of disclosure in the first Frozen movie. It's the heart can't be messed with, but the mind is easily manipulated.
100%. Yes. Well, they know
So,
that, right?
yeah,
They can't touch where we are really living, which is the heart.
right, right,
Yeah. We know love is the only real thing. Everything else is in our head, and it's
right.
legitimately true.
Yeah, and it's that's really where I would say they mess with us the most. They can introduce, like I said, it's kind of a futile act. They can put chemicals in our clothes and in our water and in our food and medication and all that stuff, and it has, I wouldn't say it has no effect, but it doesn't have near the effect that messing with our mind has. Like that's the part that's
Yes.
creating.
Yeah. When the mind comes into agreement with whatever they're putting out there, it makes it worse. And that's where the nervy pain comes in that everyone's been dealing with. Nerve pain is really hard to ignore because, as we all know, if you're going through it right now, it
Mhm.
stabs at you. And it is so hard to take your mind off of that kind of pain.
Yeah.
But if you can't, even for like 10 seconds, just to, just try and take your mind off of it. If you are not thinking about the pain anymore, you are not in pain. It's only when the mind comes in and pays attention to it that the pain reasserts itself. It's not like you're just, walking along doing nothing, not thinking about anything. You're like, oh, ow, that hurt. No, your mind thought it first. And it's
That's a
really quick.
really, yeah, that's
But yeah,
such a
your
good
mind
point.
has to come into it first. Otherwise, you really don't feel it. And that's how a lot of people, like I've been reading Wim Hof. I think he's Danish, if I remember correctly. And he's
Well,
the guy, his nickname is the Iceman.
yes, I love Wim
Um,
Hof. Yeah.
yeah. So he climbed Everest in a pair of like shorts because he can maintain his body at a core temperature that he doesn't feel that kind of cold. And I think that's just fascinating. I still feel cold and heat. I can't do that yet. But the
Right.
premise of what he's trying to teach people is if you are in control of your mind, your body will follow. And that's absolutely true. So it's hard, I know, when people are going through really serious stuff and severe pain to get your mind in alignment with it, especially if it's gone on for a long period of time, because you just get really worn down with the pain. And there's just points where you just want to just sit and cry because it's just too much. And
Well,
that's
and we
fine.
also, oh, sorry, I don't mean to
No, it's
interrupt,
okay.
but we also want to look at the pain serves a purpose. It's getting your
Hmm.
attention on a certain part of your body. And if we can understand what the body is saying. It's just a message. It's all it's trying to
Mhm.
do is like pay
Yes.
attention to this is what's going on. Like, for example, if we go back to like the pain in the legs or something, that's resistance to moving forward in life. The right side of the body represents your present life, and the left
Mhm.
side represents like either like early childhood or possibly even like a past life, as
Mhm.
well as having the, you know, the masculine on the right side and the feminine on the left side, right? So the connection. So it could be, you know, if you're having pain in your right hip, like I am, then there's some kind of, what are you resisting about moving forward in where you currently are? Like what's coming
Mhm.
up? And I can immediately, like, I know, I'm like, yep, those thoughts come into my head. I get a little freaked out. No wonder I'm having it there. I know I've kind of resolved a lot of stuff in the past. You know, the past is the past for me. So it's not really happening. Everything for me, right side of my body, up and down the right side. It's like right now is where I'm like, you know, like
Yep.
what's happening?
Yeah, this life is intense too. Mine's right now it's on the left, which for me is not usual. Usually it's on the right side for me as well, but lately it's been on the left. And what I keep getting is this isn't even this lifetime. You have to let it go. Like, okay, how can I
Yeah.
do that? And that
Yeah.
turns into like a whole other conversation with my higher self. But
Right.
really, every time there's pain, it is a message. Like the body's trying to talk to you. It's trying to figure out what's going on. It's trying to tell you that something is out of alignment. And it just turns into, are you going to listen to it or not? And most people will look outside of themselves for the answer, but the answer is always on the inside.
For
I'll give a
sure.
great example. I had a crown come off of the back molar, probably, I think it's 4 years ago now. It's been a long time. The tooth felt better when the crown came off. And it's not like my dentist did a bad job or anything. That molar's had trouble since I was a kid. I've been learning more and more about which meridian that is, what parts of the body that relates to in that particular tooth. It's been that way with the cap off of it for 4 years. I have never gotten the cap put back on. It had a mercury filling in it, which fell out. I did have to deal with a little toxicity because I swallowed it without realizing that I
Oh
had.
no.
So I had to clear that out of there. But at the same time, I know the tooth is still healing. It would heal faster if I would stop looking outside of myself, going, oh my God, what's happening? I need help.
Mm.
If I would just listen to what I need in here, when I started taking a pearl powder supplement, it's gotten better by leaps and bounds. But let me tell you, like half the tooth was black. They had drilled it to put the cap on. It had the filling in it. I mean, it had problems, but it doesn't hurt. I don't get pain from it. I don't have problems with it. I'm not toxic. My heart is fine. But most people, when they hear that, what they're going to hear is the dentist going, "Oh my God, your crown came off. You need a root canal, and you're going to give yourself heart disease every time." But again, 4 years I've been dealing with this, and it would heal faster if I could get in better alignment with that tooth. I don't focus on it very much because it doesn't bother me. When it starts hurting a little bit, I'm like, oh, I better heal the tooth.
Yeah.
So, it's the pain trying to be like, what are you still not paying attention to? And that particular tooth is related to the small intestine. And I do have some trouble down there. So, it's still trying to tell me there's still a problem. And I know if I actually work a little more on that intestine, the tooth is going to fall in line as well. So it's just, where am I willing to focus my attention, and how much am I willing to put into it to get it where I want it to be? And how much am I willing to go, oh, well, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So.
So let's talk really second. You mentioned the heart, and I just want to touch on that for a second. So again, we're not having a medical conversation, we're having an energetic conversation. But from an
Mhm.
energetic level, I've had a lot of people tell me, and I've experienced it myself, that they're experiencing weird heart palpitations, like just
Mhm.
and
I have
and
two.
we know that this is an ascension symptom. It does come up with in people. Now, what I've heard and what resonates for me is that so our thymus gland is in that heart center.
Mhm.
And when the thymus gland activates, it flutters like a butterfly. Its wings sort of flutter like that. And that
Mhm.
our thymus it shrinks as we get older. We have like a much bigger thymus when we're younger, and as we get older, it shrinks. But um, with all of this ascension, it's actually starting to kind of expand again.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what I get when I feel into it. It's totally like um, nerve wracking though, because it's like it's not all the
Yes.
time. It's just sometimes, and a lot of times I notice like when I'm totally calm or laying down, it'll start up. It'll be like, and I'm like, So you said
Yeah.
you get it too.
Oh yeah, I've had a few. And again, it was so crazy because some of it happened right around when I was dealing with the panic attacks and the iron. So it's important for people to remember when you're listening to your body, what you need to figure out is, are you listening to your body telling you something, or are you listening to your mind being afraid of something you don't understand? And it takes
Ooh,
a little bit of practice to understand the difference between the fear factor, like, oh my God, my body's doing something I'm not expecting. And
right.
this is something I need to pay attention to, because sometimes there's legitimately something you're going to need help with. I'm pretty good at listening to my body, so I don't usually have to go to outside help, but I certainly know when it gives me the signals going, you can't deal with this alone.
Yeah.
So with the heart stuff, it was playing into the fear that was happening in my mind, which was related to the low iron. So I didn't understand that the thymus was doing something it's designed to do, which is get bigger as we go upwards in our ascension. And it was so scary because some of it was related to nerve damage from the COVID. So I was getting it's okay, but you still have to fix your nerve stuff. And it was like, okay, which one do I do first? How bad is this? Do I need to go to a doctor?
Right.
When I ask my higher self, like, do I need, like, I have to be very specific. Do I need outside help with this? And if it's a yes, I go find help.
Yeah.
If it's a no, it means I can figure out what's going on and it's fine. So
Yeah.
I had to go get the iron supplement with that one. And I had to do the things to fix my vagus nerve because that was playing into some of the palpitations. So, you know, I don't know an easy way to tell people to listen, but it's to sit with your body and listen. It's such a small voice, but it has a huge impact and it will sound different than your ego trying to be afraid of something. And once you figure out what that difference is, because it's a little bit different for everybody, you will never mistake what your body's trying to tell you versus what you're being told is scary. So yeah,
Yeah.
heart stuff is scary. It's a big
Yeah.
organ.
It's
It controls everything.
sure. And I would never tell someone to not seek medical assistance if that's what you feel like you need. You'd like, if you're not sure, if you're not used to listening to your body, why not go get it checked out just to be on the safe side? Because you don't want to put yourself
Absolutely.
in harm's way just because you're like, no, I'm supposed to figure this out myself. It's like, no, we have help on this planet so that you don't have to
Yeah.
struggle with it.
Yeah. And medicine, I mean, medicine is amazing. I have a lot of people who are very anti medicine. I'm a little wary these days with the way things have gone.
Sure.
But medicine is truly, it's such a gift that we've been given that we can figure this stuff out. I think we've gone overboard with it and it gets a little crazy. But yeah,
Right.
so you just have to really be very specific with your body. Do I need outside help with this? And the body will definitely say yes or no if you
And
cannot figure it out.
there, and you can usually tell when it's like fear is activated because there's that heightened panic. It always feels higher. Uh
Yes.
Energetically, I just feel like this shrill or high feeling that comes with it. Like the other day, I was driving and I felt like just in the center of my back, right behind my heart, just this um I think it felt like a gas bubble, but there was no gas bubbles happening. So it was just really weird, but it was really intense and short and quick. And I just remember my first reaction was that, like, like,
Yeah.
what is this? Because my body doesn't do that. Right. And I'm like, oh
Hmm.
my God. But of course, as soon as I like make contact with myself and ask what's going on, I'm like, you're fine. Like, calm down. It's like, as I calmed down, the pain went away and it didn't come back. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I was picking up something, like, because we do that too. Some of us are natural,
Hmm.
we filter for others, right? So if you're walking through an area where there's a lot of stuff going on, you're filtering it for people. Like,
Hmm.
that's why we get exhausted by being in like big public spaces or like traffic. God, how much are you filtering when you're driving? It's like, oh my God, I'm so tired after that because you're just like
Oh, yeah. People are so
until
mean when they're in traffic. So if you get a lot of pain or anxiety in traffic, it's not necessarily the traffic, it's the horrible energy people put out. I was a terrible road rager when I had to commute to work every day. Working at home is way better for me, but I'm guilty of that too. You get in the car and it's like you're in this bubble going, F you, you don't know how to drive, you're shooting all this stuff out at people. And in
Yeah, well,
energy, you actually are. So you have to really, I have to think about that all the time. Like I am attacking someone and I don't even know who they are just because I'm in my car.
we have
Not a
that
good
weird
thing.
sense of like being invisible, which is so funny because it's like, no, you're actually
Yep.
kind of visible. But what helped me get over that, the anxiety and stuff, was I used it as an opportunity to strengthen my intuition. So I would just feel people and I'm like, this person's going to cut in or cut me off. I can feel it. So I just slow down, and sure enough, and I'm like, now I can feel, I'm like, I know what this person's doing before they do it. It's like, I know this person's going to be like turning into my lane. No signal, nothing is happening. And I'm like, they're going to turn into my lane. So I'll just pull up or pull back. And sure enough, they're like coming in. It's like, it's kind of incredible, really, when you start using your intuition in spaces like that, because you can really start to feel the rhythm. You really do get in the flow, especially in a car. It's like,
Oh yeah. It's a
mm,
lot of energy in the on the roadways because you're right. People feel like they're in this protected space. And it's so funny because it plays into like managing your own energy and then managing the space that you're in and managing that energy as well. Because we
and
put so much into the spaces we inhabit.
for sure. And we see it actually, that's why we see it reflected online, because people feel invisible. They feel
Mhm.
like it's a space where it doesn't count, like it's not going to come back to them. And that makes me laugh because I'm like, karma is an energy. It's like whatever you put out, no matter where, how covert you think you're doing it, that energy is coming back to you for sure. Like
Yeah.
this,
Well, you know, energy is so instantaneous. It never lies. There's never any
you know,
subtlety in energy. And whether
right?
you can perceive it or not doesn't mean it's not there. So, and so many of us perceive it now. It just means so much more to manage your own energy because you never know what you're picking up from other people because we interact so much. I mean, office spaces are like the worst, right? Most people don't even want to be there. You
Right.
come in and you're having a great day, you walk in the door, you're having a bad day. It's just, we put so much into the spaces we're in. That's why everyone wants to go like hiking or take a walk or go into the ocean, you know, because that will dissipate it. Nature takes care of itself. It's the man made stuff that's holding all of that energy in there.
For sure. For sure. So let's go back to, okay, we're processing. So the takeaway I'm
Mhm.
getting from talking to you is that we're doing some 3D processing. One,
Lots of
as I
it.
understand what you're saying, is we need to inhabit our body more.
Mhm.
But two, it's super painful right now to inhabit our bodies because we're processing all this 3D energy. So what can we do to help ourselves? Like, how do we help ourselves through this period?
Yeah, I was thinking about that today because I have several really intuitive clients as well that are aware of kind of what's going on. So I've been asking my team in the back of my mind, like this whole conversation, like, okay, where are we going to go with this? What are we doing? So depending on where you're manifesting your pain, most people are going to be one side or the other. It just seems to be that way right now. Even with neck pain and back pain, there's usually one side that's a little worse than the other. So
Yeah.
for example, yours is on the right side, which is this lifetime. So
Yes.
right now you're processing pain through this lifetime for the
Yeah.
collective. So we're all together. What they've told me to do, we'll see. Um, it kind of depends on where you feel energetically inclined. So if you're a sound healing kind of person, like a sound bath kind of thing would help you process it out. And what you have to do is focus on those particular chakras. So we're going to pull in the grounding energy, you pull up your earth energy, but instead of going all the way up, you're going to stop in those three chakras and pull all the energy in that you can. And the visual they're giving me is like pulling in the energy and you're going to compress it down so it's really tight and super, super bright. And then you're going to expand it out like a really big starburst. So, like you're breaking open a blister or something like that. So, you're going to let
Mm.
it go. So, it's a very like literal way of letting it go. You brought up luggage earlier. You can picture dropping the suitcase and you're going to walk away. Just leave it behind you.
In a way.
And yeah, and then, you know, I have people that, you know, it depends on what your visual really works for. But what they're trying to show me is that you're going to take all that pain and you're going to bring it in and bring it in and bring it into those chakras. And then you're going to expand the chakra back out as big as you can, like you're starbursting it out of your energy field. It works as also for the past pain, which is what I'm dealing with on the left side. But instead of being so specific on the chakras you have now, you're going to think more in terms of these chakras echo back in time, like throughout the timeline. So you're going to see like a time, that's what they're showing me, a timeline
Uh-huh.
of yourself in your past lives with all of these chakra points in the different bodies. And it's going to be kind of the same thing. You're going to compress it down, but it's going to expand out and like fireworks going back in time. So that it might be something I have to think a little bit more meditation wise, but the
Yeah.
image they're giving me is a huge explosion to let go of it, because that energy then goes back out into the energy that's already there and it goes back to source.
Yeah.
So, and it may take a few attempts depending on how much pain you're actually processing. And some of it could be very localized to your own body, but the collective pain for sure. They're like, just get it out, is get it out of your field. So
I feel like
yeah.
too, so like with the sacral, for example, I know that's the pleasure center. It's also like a power center. And that's, I feel like that was the dynamic I feel like we're breaking apart is this, we've gone out of whack on this planet with power. It's like, it's so misunderstood, and control has been, we're told what is power is actually control. That's what my team says. This is a control thing, but we see it as power, when power is very much like, if you want to know what real power looks like, it looks like the earth. Like the earth is power. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, she's
grounded,
big. I mean,
big, but it's like grounded, quiet, still, large capacity to hold. There's nothing about, like, nature doesn't have to do anything to impress upon you its power. It is powerful. Like nobody's looking at a giant sequoia and going, like you're looking
yeah,
at it, you're like,
that's nothing.
oh my God. You know what I mean? Like you're looking at a volcano, which is maybe her more showy aspect, but you're looking at a mountain. Even mountain is still, it's quiet, it's not doing anything. And it's very powerful. And that's what real power is. I feel like part of what we're detoxing here is this false illusion of what power is, and why so many people have a weird relationship to the word power is because we're very turned off by what we're told it is, which is really just their version, which is control.
Yeah.
That's their main operating mechanism, is control. In fact, in the law of one, they sort of talk about that the mechanism in which the negative polarity uses is control, whereas the positive polarity is acceptance, to accept, which is a more powerful state to be in, because that's the holding state.
And the acceptance thing just hit me pretty hard. Acceptance of the body is what gets you into it. That's the right way to put it. So when people are maybe confused with what I'm saying with inhabiting, not living, you have to inhabit this body because you created it for your soul to be here right now. So yeah, it's yours. You're there. But if you don't accept what you created in the form that it's in, then you're not actually living in your body. So you don't actually get to feel all that pleasure, all that, power in your own body. So that acceptance, that's really key with that, I think is where that's going. To inhabit is one thing. To live means you accept everything as you are, and then you go forward in your life, and you're not trying to perfect it or change it or do anything. You're just accepting what is and going, this is great. And you go forward.
Yeah,
and very few of us know how to do that, because we're told multiple times in many ways not to accept our bodies the way they are.
Right.
So another subtle form of control.
Well, and yeah, that's exactly it, because they're the masters of that. That's how they go through life. I mean, in the law of one, they talk about that. If they were like, if you wanted to look at a negatively polarized person, and what they mean by that is someone who's polarized as service to self, they're the ones who will be like the gym perfectionist. And I'm not saying just because you go to the gym and you perfect your body, that makes you negative. That's not what I mean. But that personality type would do that for sure. And it's not about the pleasure of being in their body or what their body can do. It's about my ability to control my body.
Yes.
I can
and
control,
force it to do something.
That's right. I can control this experiment. I can control how I look. I can control what I do. They have incredible amounts of self-control, those on that negative side, because so they can take discipline to an extreme on their side, because again, that's how they operate. That's how you get into that frequency, is to stay in this place where you're literally trying to control every aspect of your experience. And that's why they're hell bent on controlling everything. Like we watch these cartoons. I don't know if you remember, like Pinky and the Brain. You remember that cartoon,
Yeah.
Pinky and the Brain? And it's like
Yep.
they represent, like the brain obviously represents the negative agenda. It's like, what are we doing today? We're going to take over the world. It's like, oh, that's it.
Yep.
It's not enough for them to have the self-control. Then they want control of the environment. Then they want control of the society. Then they want control of the population. Then they want control of the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, the sad part for them is there's never enough. Like, I can't even imagine,
Yeah.
what if they got what they wanted? Do you think
It
that
still wouldn't be
maybe
enough.
it
Yeah, they'd
wouldn't be
find
enough?
something else that it's kind of a sad existence when you really think about it. It's just a sad way to be. And
Oh,
like
sure.
I'm constantly working on trying to, perfect the way I want this body to be, but it's more for it's such a subtle distinction, right? It's not to make my body do it. It's, can I get in cooperation with my body to get it to do this the way I want it to? Like, I'm just so in awe of some athletes because they have such an amazing control of their physical self, and it's in such a great form, and they can make it do these incredible things. But you can tell the difference with the ones that get injured. They're forcing the body to do it. The ones
Right.
that stay kind of supple and loose and perform these feats that no one even thinks are possible, they're in such good cooperation, and they live inside that body, and they're like, we can do this.
For
So
sure.
it's that subtle shift in your thought of, I'm going to make you, or we are a team,
And
that
all
brings
of
you
it,
in.
absolutely. And I would say it also exists on a spectrum. I mean, having self-control to a degree is
Mm-hmm.
helpful, right? Like, for example, when you're in a situation where you're disagreeing with someone and you really want to just let them have it, you want to like nail them to the wall with, I'm right, and here's why, and not doing that. That the ability to like control your speech, or to like,
Exactly. Not
go
let your
into.
emotions overwhelm you,
Right. So again, I'm not saying like, to some degrees of control are helpful, but it's when it goes into that
Yeah,
extreme. and
that
and
dark
another, like, another movie
place.
that illustrates it really well, and it's disturbing, but is that like American Psycho. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Gross movie,
Oh,
disturbing,
creepy. It was
but
creepy.
really
Yeah.
illustrated what that mindset looks like.
Yeah. The
Anyway,
body is just another tool in that kind of mindset. It's not a partner. It's not what you're experiencing through. It's just a tool that's just how it seems to be perceived in that kind of mindset. So
for
like the
sure.
body, this is your teammate. You created it. It's the one you're going to be in for this lifetime. You're a team. So it's good to get on board
Absolutely.
with your teammate and find out what's going on that side of it. So
Absolutely. And I love that acceptance is the key, because I noticed that if you want to create change in your life, the first thing you need to do is accept what you have, accept where you're at, like work
yes.
with what you've got, right? And then real change can happen, but it's coming from that place of nurturing growth and love, rather than the place of like control, hate, or dominance.
Yes. And I think that's good. So, keep perfecting the body, keep working with your teammate and getting things the way you want to. But always remember, you have to start with, I'm okay where I'm at right now, to get there. Like, this is my body, and it's my buddy. And as I tell my clients all the time, this is the only body you have. You're not going to change into some other body. I know there's a whole conversation with walk-ins, but once again, it's still that same body, even with a walk-in. So get on board with your body. That's the one you picked. You created it. People forget, first came the thought that you wanted to do a life and you wanted to accomplish something. And then comes the body to make that possible. It's not the other way around. We are not accidental.
Yeah.
So you picked it. You need to get on board with it. And
I
some
love
bodies
that.
are really struggling, but you picked something maybe more challenging than someone else.
Well, I love that you talk about your body like a buddy. And I remember one of the mindset shifts that I made that really helped me fall in love with my body is, and it actually came about through my own quantum healing hypnosis session. But the way that my subconscious or higher self talked to me about my body was, you need to think about it like a pet, like an animal that you adopted to take care of and love. And like, my soul, my thoughts, that this is the thing that's taking care of my body. And I would never treat an animal in such an abusive fashion. I wouldn't abuse it. I would like, I'd be so happy, even if it was a little chubby, like a little chubby cat, like my chubby cat. I love my chubby cat. It's so cute. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh my God, you're so adorable. And all you think about is like, how can I help you be healthy? How can I bring happiness and joy to you? And when I
Yeah.
started realizing, like, I need to talk to and think about my body in that way, that it's not some nemesis that's working against me, that's just refusing to listen, but rather it's probably kind of scared about, how I've talked to it or treated it in the past, and is
Mm-hmm.
trying to, constantly learn how to trust me and recover. And as soon as I started thinking about it like a companion or a friend, and somebody that I asked to take care of, then the whole dynamic between me and my body started to shift. And I got to start hearing it. I really got to start hearing what it needed, what it wanted. And it was like the universe would align and bring me the help and the people I need to help me,
Mm-hmm.
experience the better health in my life, better mental health. Like, all of that comes when you accept what you've got, but not just accept it like, oh, I guess this is what I got, but like, no, I chose you. This is like, I adopted you, and I'm taking you in.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's the perfect way that you need to be with your body. And people do that to varying degrees. Sometimes my body and I have issues, but yeah, no one would ever mistreat an animal or like a small child. Like, that's how you have to think of it. But as I drill into people all the time, you picked it. This is the body you created to do whatever you're trying to do. This is it. No
Yeah.
one's ever going to change that. You cannot get out of this unless this body dies. And when you leave, this body will cease to do anything. So
Yeah.
you are literally only in control of this thing right here. No one else is under your control. No one else's body is going to do what your body is going to do. And I always laugh when people want to be like on the same page. I'm like, you're not even in the same book. Like, this is it. No one knows what you're thinking in here but you. Like,
Yeah.
if you assume people know what you're thinking, they don't. No one's ever thinking about you as much as you are. So never worry about what other people think. It doesn't matter. They're in a
Right.
different book. So that's how you just need to be with your body. Like, it's great that other people have opinions and they, have, or they're doing their thing. But this is the only thing that is all about you all the time. And
Yeah.
literally, when you leave, it will cease to do anything because you aren't there to tell it what to do.
Not,
So be in
yeah.
control of this. Like,
And
this
not
is
only
you.
that, I love that. And not only that, I would add to that, this is a once in a lifetime, forever. I mean, like, this is only happening once. This version of you, doesn't matter if you come back again and again and again, it won't be this, right? It won't be
Yeah.
this version that's happening right now. This is the part that's the snowflake, the rare, unusual, and beautiful thing, is this combination of this life, this body, this mentality, all of it happening now is the unique moment,
Mm-hmm.
that's happening. And we don't get it back. Even if we were to die and come back,
Yeah, it's
this
always
one's
a little
done.
different. Yeah, this one, we've talked about cloning stuff before on different podcasts. Even a clone is slightly different than the original. Even identical twins have some very subtle differences. Their DNA is mostly the same, but there's some very small things that are usually different between the two.
Mhm.
This is it. This is the only one. So get on board with these poor bodies and tell them what to do. And as my team keeps reiterating, get that energy out of your field because we need to be done with it. So if that starburst imagery works for people, great, use it. If you want to drop off your suitcases, do that. If you want to let go of your balloons, that works for some people as well. So
And how
do
about
what
working
works for
with
you.
an energy practitioner like yourself? Does that help us?
Absolutely. Because, I mean, obviously you've mentored me before because sometimes you're too close to what's going on because it's you. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes really great to have an outside perspective from someone who can see it from a distance and isn't so entangled in it,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with body stuff like pain, because you get so close to it because it's your body. And it's
Right.
hard to see where it could be coming in from or what you're holding on to that could be, causing some of the craziness. So it's good sometimes to have the outside perspective.
For sure. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great conversation. I love what you brought to the table. And try her like light compression starburst method. Bring it to whatever chakra you feel is connected to that. pain. And then, of course, if you can, if you're in Colorado, you could try and get an appointment with Stacy. I know she's pretty booked though,
A little
so that
bit.
might be
Could be next
difficult.
year.
You might have to go on a wait list, but you
Yeah.
can find someone that you trust that could help work on your body. And at least, like, I have an acupuncturist over here that I use who does a great job with that. So there's ways that you can help yourself, but mostly it's what we've been talking about in that mental, emotional, and the loving connection with your own body. That's really important. So, Stacy, if people want to hear more from you, if they want to follow you, where could they go?
Well, I'm still getting things set up from more of an energetic perspective. I've been doing massage for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
So it's still a little more physically based. My website is still the best one. So it's mtserenitymassage.com is where I am right now. There'll be some new stuff that's expanding and working with like personal energy and energy in spaces is what's going to be happening next. So, my website's probably the best place to start. And then as I build up more of a list, I'll get some other stuff out there.
Fantastic. Is there any social media that you're on that they can follow you too?
My Facebook page got taken down because Facebook is weird. So I have an Instagram page.
Yeah,
and I'll probably
Instagram.
be putting some stuff out there. And I haven't decided if I'm going to start like a Rumble page or anything yet. I'm still kind of getting my feet wet with the video. So this was like a big deal to be on camera today. Yeah, we'll start with Instagram and just kind of go from there.
Well, you did an awesome job. You're a natural at this, so I wouldn't sweat it. You're doing great. What's your Instagram? Is it at Mount Serenity or
At MT Serenity? I think it's MSG, so like massage, but it looks like message.
okay?
Yeah.
Fabulous. All right. So I'll put those in the description below so that you can just click on it and find Stacy and start following her because I know she's got some exciting things coming. Her team is very excited for her to move into phase 2. So you definitely want to be following and see what she's going to be bringing out in the future. Stacy, it's been fabulous chatting with you here. I appreciate you so much.
And thank you. This was great. I had a good time. We'll have to do this again.
For sure. All right. Thanks to everyone watching. I look forward to leave your comments on the live stream if you're on YouTube, and if you have any questions for Stacy, put them there and I will make sure that she gets them. And if you're hearing this on the podcast, thanks for listening. And I cannot wait. To talk to you again in the future and maybe bring Stacy back when she's doing her energy work too.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you again very soon.